You're listening to the Get Peeled podcast, a space for life enthusiasts to get inspired, learn through others about fitness, business, relationships, and life itself. I'm your host, Hannah Eden, a fitness entrepreneur that has an obsession with sweating and a burning desire to share and inspire others with the lessons that I have learned through fitness. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Get Peeled podcast. My name is Hannah Eden.
And I'm Paulo Barreto. Today we're in Aspen, shooting this podcast for you guys.
We are. We've been traveling a lot.
A lot.
Like, it's kind of to the point where...
Kind of too much.
It is, and that sounds so ugly to say. I love traveling, and I'm so grateful for everything that we get to do. But it's tough, man. No routine, lack of sleep, early mornings, late nights, every day. It's a struggle to find restaurants around here because the season just closed to even find food. It's just, it's a bit of a struggle.
Food that we used to, or getting...
Cooking ourselves every day.
Yeah, getting to work out and perform as much as we like to, as much as we wanted to.
And we are like putting a shit ton of miles in, right?
It's different.
But here's a great example, and I want to say what I'm saying right now, because if you're listening, you're probably like, oh my God, if you forget to exercise gratitude, then you lose joy. And that's what's happening right now, is that we're getting tired of we're in fucking Aspen, Colorado.
That's
on
amazing.
The balcony of our room, in a beautiful suite. Like, so grateful that it's ugly when you speak out loud, right?
Yeah,
Sounds it.
but I get it. Like, how many times maybe you've spoken to someone who travels for work, and they're like, "Yeah, man, I went to this place. I'm like, "Amazing." I'm like, "No, it's."
But I think what I'm trying to say is, like, for example, what just happened in the parking lot right now.
Yeah, I'm just over I don't know why, but like, it's one night in the hotel, grab 6 bags, go up. Pack, unpack.
And it's not 6 bags. There's 8 of us, which we have 6 bags. They have
alone
2 to 4 bags each. So we're just loading, unloading. It's like a very heavy thing. But if you stop and you zoom out, I felt the same way down there. I have 1,000 things to be doing right now, which need my attention, right? And we have this time, which is here, to get to work and do stuff. And some of the group want to go explore the area and like not just have to work and move so fast that we check into the hotel, we check out, and it's just like you don't appreciate or get to experience these locations we're going to. But when I was feeling like that in the van, I'm like getting really impatient because we couldn't find the hotel and it took us a long time to get in. But I've been thinking to myself, like, man, how dare you feel so like short right now when you're about to check into. And I'm doing the research on Aspen, Colorado. It's known as it's one of the richest places in America. It's got the highest priced real estate in America, and we're sitting here looking over the village at Snowmass from a balcony in our suite. And I just reminded myself of that and was like, get over it. You don't have the right to be sassy. Everyone's tired. Everyone's fucking doing it. Like, it's so hard though when you're in it. And I'm saying this because I was there about 5 minutes ago. But I hope that this short little conversation here is like. Whenever you're in a time where you feel so fucking frustrated or really pissed off about something, zoom out. Let's say it's like picking your kids up from the school and you have to stay in the line for an hour and a half that wraps around the building. Well, your kids have an education. Zoom out, right? Mm-hmm. Your kids have an education. You're lucky that you get to stand in the line to pick them up from school. So I think perspective and just trying to fucking shift yourself, which isn't easy.
That's all a good point, but I also think that it's okay to feel.
It is.
And it all depends on how you react to it. And sometimes all you got to do is let yourself spend 5 minutes feeling, processing, and then move on. And
but you can't allow your feelings of processing affect other people.
I hope not.
Right, that's I think of course you can feel. You can run it out when you're alone, or be sour faced when you're alone. Like, remove yourself from an environment if you know that you're not in a good spot. All right, this is actually going to be a really good place for us to start off with today's topic.
I like it.
So today's topic is your watch is going to die. Is actually going to be the third podcast that we're filming
the series,
right? So Rebirth is coming 2022, and we always try and align a podcast to each theme of the week. So we've got 4 weeks.
In my theme, we mean mindful practice of the week.
Yeah,
right?
and meaning we already have said this in a lot of our episodes, but we're trying to find life experiences that we have personally gone through, and then we're trying to zoom out and break it down into stages. And then what we're trying to do is deliver this blueprint from this idea of what we kind of think would have been really helpful to put together rather than having to go through the chaos of figuring it all out. So we figured a lot of things out that we still implement into a system. I always say this thing within the office, like, we have systems for everything that we do. There's too many moving pieces and it's too overwhelming to try and handle something going in, trying to finish when you don't have a plan, right? So this is all about closing the gap. And if we go back to week 1, it was wake up. Week 2
Accept.
was accept your reality, and week 3 is like closing the gap. So the idea behind week 1, and you'll have to listen to it, was wake up to where you are. Stop being in denial. Don't be naive. Like, wake up, because if you don't wake up, you're going to regret your life when you're laying on your deathbed or when it's too late or something. And accepting your reality is being real with yourself, right?
So basically,
Hard truth.
if there's anything bothering your life, wake up, understand that if change is what you need, you gotta snap out of it. And then the second one, accept where you are, right?
Right. And meaning, if you don't accept where you are, then you can't start. So if you're trying to tell yourself that you do something great when you know deep down that you don't, you're not going to make progress there. What's going to be better for you is checking your ego and being real with where you're at, admitting that you're maybe not where you want to be, because that's a starting point that you can actually progress from. If we're progressing from a false reality, then it's really hard to feel the progress and kind of embrace that journey to whatever it is you're trying to get to.
Because accepting is basically the first, well, not in this case, but accepting is the first part of understanding, and you can only change stuff that you understand. If you don't understand, there's no point in even trying.
So we are speaking on these things, and I just thought of something. Can you think of a story that you can apply this whole thing to right now?
I can, actually, including the close the gap part. I really can. I think last night I was talking to my brother about it. He's recently divorced, and he was telling me how the reality that he's living right now is, this is his word, so not the reality that he signed off on. Meaning, this is not what I ever imagined.
Right.
Yeah, ever. And I'm like, dude, then who's to say that you one day can't get back together? That's just an example. And he goes, but we'll never know. And I'm like, I understand we'll never know. But if changing this reality is what you want, is what you're craving, I think that you can always start. You don't know if you're ever going to get back to the person, but what I do know is if you become better for yourself, maybe, just maybe, this person will look at you in a different way, because my goodness, you have a baby together. It's not like you're never going to see each other. It's not like it's like she's here and you're there. You know what I mean? Do
we go there? Okay, I'd love to have this kind of conversation.
Well, I don't know. Well, I guess we're going there to some extent. So my conversation about, I was actually, it's weird how we're doing this today, because it was almost like I was rehearsing to him all the things that we've been talking about, and most importantly, this very specific topic of today's podcast, which is closing the gap. How do you do it? Because what he told to me is exactly the core of the conversation that I have today. Because how do I even start? Like, I don't even know.
Can I add my 2 cents to what you said at the beginning there?
Yeah.
I was asking, like, are we going to go there? Because I'd love to conversate with this story if you want to go there. But you are going to go there.
Yeah, I don't know how.
So I just want to point something out that I noticed, and listen, because I'm the spectator, right? Because this is Paulo and his brother that are very, very close, and I have my feelings towards certain things, but I don't know if it's necessarily my place to say. But just zooming out and removing the family ties to any of this equation, that's so common for people to say, this is not what I thought I was going to be doing at this point in my life, or this is not what I imagined my life being like. How did I get here, right? Like, rather than, that's a very, very real feeling, and it's very valid, right? And that feeling should be felt, and I'm not trying to take that away from anyone.
What feeling?
Like, why am I, it's a victim feeling. Like, why am I here? Why am I here? I shouldn't be here at this point in my life. It's a real feeling, and it's a valid feeling, meaning I'm not going to say you shouldn't say that. Who are you to say that? Like, that's the truth, right?
Woo.
It's getting chilly.
Cold as hell out here.
I do want to say that I think, I just wrote some notes whenever you said that. It's like, whenever you imagine things.
It's snowing, babe. You said, I hope it's snowing. It's snowing right the fuck now.
Well, whenever you say that you imagine things, right? Imaginative thoughts. Like, I didn't imagine myself being here. Like, this is not what I expected to be. All thoughts will remain a fairy tale unless you're willing to work towards something.
Yeah.
Because whatever the imagination is, that's your dreams. Like, that's what happens for me and visualizing and manifesting that we would have a gym, and then this becomes a reality. What is your brother imagining? Like, what is that's my question. It's not how do we get out of here, but when you're saying this is not what I thought my life would be at this point, then you go, okay, well, what did you think your life was going to be like at this point in your life? And he'll probably describe exactly what he thinks about it. He's just written himself his own plan.
Right.
But meaning when it's like, it seems so far away.
No, but we also have to illustrate one thing, right? It's not. We're talking about a relationship.
Well, let me.
In a relationship, it's a lot different than, man, I want to change careers, or I want to pursue fitness as my career, or I want to. It's different.
Right. So let me finish my thought, okay? So you can understand where I'm coming from. If you imagine his life being with his wife, happy, living in this kind of house, with this kind of memory and this kind of feeling, okay, well, why is that not happening? You're not with your wife right now. What are the reasons why your wife left you? I know you know them, right? You might not agree with them. They might be hard to accept or hard to see because you're in your own way. But there's a reason why you guys aren't together anymore.
Yeah.
Having a baby is a very big step together.
Yep.
So that she wanted to be there, you know. So that's where you would start. It's like, what are these things? I can name right off the bat what the things that we always butt heads about. I know my feelings towards you. I know exactly what your feelings are towards me. If these are still around when we separate, they're the first things I know I need to fix, right?
If I want back.
If I want this back, but
And
to sit there and wish and hope, that's very hard.
Right. But look, it's not. Again, we're talking about relationships, and I think that the easiest thing is for you to say, dude, this is not how I envision my life being. But in a weird way, it doesn't necessarily implicate that what you want is back into that relationship. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
You meaning that his imagination may not be with her?
Because they're not. One idea doesn't exclude the other, necessarily. Meaning, thinking that the way that I live right now, right? She lives in one city, he lives in another. Javi goes back and forth every 15 days. It's definitely not how I imagine me living right now. But I'm not sure if necessarily that implies that the other way, the other side of the coin, means them living in one house happily.
Well, what you're saying is, you're trying to understand what his imagination is if it isn't being with her.
Yeah.
I don't think that. I'm not trying to say that that's the answer, but you know, if it, whatever your brain says that you imagine your life being like, are your goals, and then you can zoom out and try and create a blueprint or a plan to get there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
100%.
No matter what the imagination is or the ideal or whatever it is, it could be alone, it could be just separated but living closer, it could be whatever it is.
Right. Yeah, and this is one thing that I told him was, and I'm not saying go out there and try to become the person that you think that she would want you to be. That was the first thing I said. I just think that you should become a better person for yourself. And if things fall into place or not, we'll never know. But I think that a good start is for you to start becoming better for yourself. Because I'm always very careful about putting things in this absolute way, meaning, then do this or do that. We'll never know, especially with relationships. It's so tricky.
And I think that applies to fitness too. Like I'm trying to think of how we can relate this to the people that are listening, right? It's like, if I imagine something, then that's me telling myself what I want, right? It doesn't necessarily mean to do with a relationship at all. But as you're saying all this stuff, my brain's going, right now, my current feelings, I want to be stronger. So what does that mean? I gotta start lifting some fucking weights.
That's it.
I want to gain some muscle, man. I wish I had more muscle. Then you better start eating more fucking food. Like, the answer is right there. So ask yourself, like, what is it that you want? Wake up, right? Wake up. If you're overweight, underweight, hating what you're doing, smoking a pack of Mar Brebs every day, drinking fucking wine every single night of the week, like, all these things. Ask yourself, what is it that you get down on yourself for? Your brother, right? Rather than maybe trying to rebuild himself to cater that to someone else. Like, what is it that this situation, divorce, you living in separate places, what feelings is that giving you right now? It's making me feel weak. It's making me feel self-conscious.
Yeah.
All right, so let's find some way to make you feel strong and some way to make you feel better and more confident.
Yeah.
You know, and build your self-esteem. Like, all the things that you are maybe in denial about, and I did this for years of, I work in a nightclub. Of course I'm going to drink every night. Like, that's just what we do. And that is me trying to justify my actions, that I would go home after I would drink and be like, man, I wish I didn't drink tonight. Or I'm going to, in my mind, I would never say it out loud. I'm like, I'm going to try and go to work tonight and not drink. And then when I get home and I failed that.
But why wouldn't you say it out loud?
Huh?
Why wouldn't you say it out loud?
Because I had that thing.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about, because in this past year...
Because you know it's wrong.
In this past year alone, or not that it's wrong, but it doesn't align with whatever you're trying to pursue, right?
And like for me in that situation, I couldn't. You know?
What do you mean?
Like it was, I think I had an issue that I was not willing to admit. The same thing with being addicted to cigarettes. The same thing with being addicted to something.
Yeah.
Being addicted to something is not a good feeling because you know that even if you enjoy it, it sucks that you're a slave to this.
And it takes
you don't get a choice.
A fucking bus for you to fucking admit to yourself.
Admit it.
I think.
And step one is admitting it in your own brain, and step two is recording yourself or writing it down and then looking at it from an observant point of view. Because then it's like, oh shit, this is real. And there's a book by James Clear that's called Atomic Habits, and it talks about that, right? Like if you're not happy about a habit that you're doing, don't just keep going by doing the habit. Actively speak out loud about whatever it is that you don't like doing. So maybe you're going to recognize that you are actually ashamed. There's this shame coming out. So you know that it's not necessarily doing you good.
I know exactly, dude. I understand exactly what you're saying.
Am I making myself clear though?
I think so. I let go of habits that every single time that I would engage on, I will be. But it's so clear to me that it's not good. Why?
Right, or instantly regret
Why?
it. If you do something and you instantly regret it, that's you telling yourself what you don't like.
Why?
You know, or if a situation arises that, since your brother was in the equation to begin with, that you're unhappy about, ask yourself why you're there. And you can't fix someone else's opinion, you can't fix someone else's choices, but you can fix yourself and make yourself become desirable. You know, what is it that was lacking? Well, let me try and build that part of me up. Not for them, but for me.
If you want to, right? Because and it's interesting. And my exact words on the phone to my brother was, man, I hope that I don't sound biased because I'm a fitness trainer and this is what I do, but I still believe that the easiest way for you to get through to your mind is through your body. Once you start putting your body through some shit, you start kind of listening to a couple of voices and you start, learning some shit about you and some limits and all those things, they spill over real quick to your mindset. And once you're like, holy shit, I actually, I put to myself, I want to start doing this class or starting my fitness thing and I want to do 3 days a week. And you do it. And then all of a sudden it turns into 4, into 5. And next thing you know, you look back and you're like, holy shit, I just said I was going to do it and I did. Now, how else can I, what else can I do? And that was the exact conversation I had with him.
So, to that point, I just wanted to add, and I keep writing notes because I don't have a pen and paper here and I always forget what I'm going to say. It's just how my brain works. But the idea of doing hard things every day makes the other things feel less hard.
Yeah.
So like when I put my body, and Paulo and I were talking before this, it's like we will talk about something that now I can try and relate to business, but all of this business mindset came from fitness. So I keep trying to bring myself back to those lessons learned and how I could just feel the lesson, receive it, and then apply it to other aspects of my life, which is just like closing the gap, right? First of all, you got to know where you're going. But in order to get to where you're going, you got to know where you are. So I think waking up is understanding where you are.
Yeah.
Closing the gap is what gap are we trying to close? Because I can just say like, I'm trying to get stronger. It's really hard to stay in the game if you don't have something to work towards. And I think that goals should always be set and they should always be made. And maybe I am the fault at this and Paulo can talk about more dopamine, but like, and take the time to acknowledge your goals and feel them, but then continue to set them again. Because if you don't have something to work towards, for me personally, it becomes really hard to understand the purpose of every day. That sounds so heavy. But like, I'm just that person.
I understand that 100%. But I think that nowadays, especially with so much input that we receive from social media, from TV, from everywhere, with this whole... and I think that it's got a lot to do with the American culture, which is you got to be hustling and bustling. You got to be moving. You got to be moving fast. In Brazil, it was very different, I think. And I remember speaking to your parents, and you're like, man, in London, it's a little different. And Brazil was definitely different. Definitely different. But here, we're always surrounded by entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship. And it's always like, you got to go, you got to go. And sometimes we find ourselves doing things simply for the heck of doing it.
I disagree, though.
That's okay. That's totally fine.
Right. And I think it's so fascinating.
Because one thing is doing things to be productive and to get to a point and to achieve something. But sometimes we're so conditioned to the doing that we just do it. We just do it.
I think that I disagree. Like, I love fucking doing.
No,
But where I slip is having balance while doing. Because I think that if that's who you are and you want to go out there, you want to fucking make things come to life, you want to create shit and build stuff and just see what the fuck you can do with this one life. Also being way too aware that I could die tomorrow. Like, that, you should continue to do that. That's who I am. But if it starts to affect, to take away from the personal and the relationships in your life, then I think it should be something that is adjusted to.
Agree with everything that you just said, but I think that we have to kind of address exactly what doing means in the situation, because you're saying doing as in creating and building, right? Like, I like to build shit. Like, I like to do things and create and basically feel like I'm contributing
And maintain.
and doing things that matter.
What are you
What I'm-
referring to?
Like you saying, like, dude, I want to do things. Like, I can die tomorrow, so I want to get out there
Help
and
me understand.
experience.
Like, go on a hike on your rest day.
Go on a hike on a
create a
rest
new
day,
business. Like,
all of this, because
Okay.
I have a feeling that this is exactly where you're going. Like, I like to do these things, and I'm never going to stop. And I agree, you shouldn't stop.
and people would say, like, you need to rest. You need to take a day off. Well, for me, resting and taking a day off is having my own time to get lost in the mountains and not have cell phone service.
Right.
It's exertion, but that's what is. I feel like I'm resting my soul.
And that matters to you, and that's the whole point. And I think that you should never stop doing that. My point on doing it's sometimes we become conditions, or even just for the simple fact of doing, we just start doing things that don't really matter.
Like
but we
what?
feel like in life, for instance, we sometimes prefer not to be present and stay still for a second and have a conversation, and we choose to do. Like whenever we have holidays with your family, sometimes we could just sit down, have wine, and have a conversation. But it's like, no, I want to go outside and I want to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this.
I think that's
it's
just
a matter of doing.
bit of a different issue.
But it's the idea of that. I have to be moving. I have to be doing things.
Or like you feel like you're not. But I do slow down. I mean, we stayed in bed for 12 hours yesterday.
Yeah.
My back hurt. The day
Right.
before we got on this job, like we stayed in bed the entire day. Like
Right.
I don't think that I'm doing that anymore.
No, but I'm not speaking about you.
That's why I keep saying give an example so people can understand.
I did. So, for instance, whenever we are holidays or whenever the family gets together, right? And I made this joke because it's funny how your dad, your mom, your brother, everyone recognizes at some point whenever you guys are speaking about it. But we're doing dinner, for instance, and sometimes we're on the countertop in the kitchen, huge countertop, beautiful kitchen, and we're just shooting the shit, and no one can stay still for like 20, 30 minutes.
I think that's a different issue.
You do?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. I think that we all have like ADD and literally can't sit still. But let's not use like a family holiday, right? Let's use like a everyday life. Mm-hmm. Like you go through the motions of doing stuff
doing things
because
just
you
for
feel
the-
like you have to,
Yeah.
right? And if you're not doing them, then you're lazy or you're failing, blah, blah, blah. I think that is really only kind of relates to a very small percentage of people, you know?
Okay.
Higher achievers, people that can't stop.
Yeah.
A lot of people are the total opposite, probably listening, going, fuck, I wish I could be like that. All I want to do is
Like what?
be doing shit and
Yeah.
want to keep moving because I can't get there. And this is something I want to say. This is such a cool conversation right now. I used to be the person that I just referred to, right? Like, you know this. I would stay in bed till 12 p.m., 1 p.m. I'd not shower, like order Domino's pizza from
Yeah.
my bed, get it delivered to the door. Like I was that person, and then like did the bare minimal of like showing up to my shift and getting ready for work an hour and a half before, and then you know what I mean. Like I was in that mindset. Then it's like now that makes me throw up. Like
Why?
the thought of
What
that
changed?
because life is too short. Get the fuck up.
Right. I get that point, but what changed? When?
That's
did
what
that
I'm trying to
change for
say.
you?
Fitness. Because look at it. Even I remember going to CrossFit. My class was noon with my girl Jess. What's good, baby girl? And I would sleep in until I had to wake up for class, and then go do CrossFit. I did that while I was good too. Bear in mind I was working late, but like what? But I remember a turning point of like making this a career, and then I think I saw potential within myself, potential within any opportunity, really, because I started to see that opportunity surrounds us. If we want it, go get it. And once you get that feeling and you actually accomplish that and you feel the value and like the empowerment of that, that's an addicting substance.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where it's like
amazing.
you got to slow down. But how do we close the gap to be even able to get to that place? Here's how: by continuing to set goals and reaching them. There's this thing within your brain that's called oxytocin. Whenever you give back to charity, your brain releases this chemical.
Is that the only way? Like, what other situations does your brain?
I'm just relating to charity right now. I'm going to get to that. Reason being, it's like whenever you give and you serve others, it makes you feel good, right? Like it's such a good feeling. Well, let's try and applying that situation towards yourself. But most of the time, we don't do things for ourselves. We do things for others before we actually do something that's actually of worth, right? So try applying that mindset to yourself. And I'm pretty sure don't quote me on this, but I know that from a study I was just reading about giving back. But I'm sure that we also release some kind of something in our brain, and this is where I'd love to get one of our Hef Tribe members on that works in neurology to understand what it feels like when we accomplish something that we set out to do. That is so good, man. There's no better high than that, right? Then it's like, fuck yes. It's deep down, you want to like jump around and scream and shout, but you know you got to play it cool, and like that's also where maybe recognizing accomplishments don't come in, because it's like, oh wow, that was a great feeling, but I'm scared that if I celebrate it, then it's going to go away, you know? And then that idea of whatever it is that we're talking about, whether it be a fitness program, and then a nutrition plan, and then a new business goal, and then a new date goal, or I'm going to read 8 pages every night. Like, once you start accomplishing, no matter what the goal is, the feeling is the same, man. And the bigger and bigger and bigger, or the more you do it, then the higher and higher and higher level that gets on. And I just did that in 2012 and haven't stopped since, you know, and I'm pretty sure if we keep going, while trying to maintain balance so that it's worth it, it will continue to keep growing. Like that level of whatever the fuck. I hate the word success, but you know, it's a success if you complete something. Congratulations if you complete something, whether it be this big or this big.
Yeah.
But you can't go from here to here. You got to be willing to understand that it starts small. And I think that the journey and the struggle that we related to in Fearless helps build the understanding of the importance of what it is that you're working towards, or the importance of what it takes, because it's the what it takes that confirms that you should be where you are.
Yeah. In the beginning of this talk, you said, well, for you to go from point A to point B, well, for you to arrive at point A where you want to be, you need to know exactly where you are. And it's interesting, because if you put in your GPS, I want to go to this place, the first question GPS is going to ask is,
Starting
where are you?
What's your current location?
Where your current location, or where you're going to start from. And one of the things that we spoke about, I think was the last podcast of this series, was because sometimes it feels so unattainable and so distant, the easiest way is to default back to, fuck man, I'm not even going to start. I don't even know how to get there. And I think that this is what we're trying to bring with this program that we have, Rebirth, is give this little blueprint of mindful practices, weekly practices that you can do to keep your mind as engaged as your body will be physically. Because on this program, we're opening up the toolbox and we're bringing every fucking thing that we have.
Yeah. And I want to just dive even deeper into that. And I just thought this now. I'm going to make sure I don't forget this. But I think there needs to be some kind of takeaway. Like, we give a lot of written work and like the PDFs that you download from the app.
Yeah.
And then you can print them out, keep them, save them in your files, whatever you want to do. But I think last time we had a lot of questions and mindful work that we were doing every week. This time I'd love to give the same idea. It's like practicing, demonstrating how I do it first. And I really want to film this as a separate podcast. But like understanding that we've all got a to-do list, right? For life, for family, for work, we've all got to-do lists. But like another to-do list is to help you feel better about what you're trying to do. So write yourself a to-do list. And when I say this, is I want to be able to give them the schedule that we have. Mm-hmm. I created like this little thing, right? Because I was feeling overwhelmed. Because if you're at point A and you want to be at point B, but point B is so far away, it is extremely overwhelming, discouraging to begin, right? And I know this because I do it every day. if I have a project that's going on that seems so far away and there's still so many fucking moving pieces, I literally have meltdowns because I feel like I'm drowning and I can't get to the top of the freaking surface.
And it doesn't matter how much you do. You always feel like you're
just drowning. Unless I have this piece of paper that has the smallest boxes on for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I write 3 things. So I have this other side that's this really long space to add bullet points. To-do list. So on my mind, everything I'm thinking of is going to go down. Close, here we go. Pay car payment, transfer bank accounts, blah, 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 blah. Whatever personal shit. Other thing, be realistic. Work out twice this week. I'm making this up.
and start small. Go ahead.
Right. Work out twice this week.
Yeah.
Go grocery shopping on Tuesday. Buy a book. Don't read a book. Buy a book that I'm interested in. You write down everything that can fit. Once you have no more lines, wait, or flip the page and do it for next week. Then you go through this list, which I think there's only so many lines because there's only so many days of the week, and you apply in order of importance 3 to each box. Rather than going in on a Monday, looking at this list and going, holy shit, I have so much to do. It's so crazy. You're stressed. You're feeling like you're behind. Do I look angry? You're feeling like you're behind. It's overwhelming. You can't focus. You're getting distracted. You're procrastinating. It's like, But if you just go to Monday's box where there's 3 bullet points and you fucking can cross it out.
Start with that.
You go home and you feel excited because what a solid productive day today, man. The rest of the week doesn't matter, right? Because all you're focusing on is Monday. Then you're excited. I can't wait to get back to the office tomorrow. I can't wait to keep checking my boxes off tomorrow because you feel good. That's that feeling that I'm trying to say, which is oxytocin for a fact when it comes to giving to charity. Maybe it's the same for this, and I'm going to try and confirm that, but it's something that is released that makes you feel so good. And do it, dopamine for sure, but I don't know if it's specific, you know, and talk to them about dopamine because you've been doing a lot of research about this recently.
It's, we listened to a podcast.
The feel-good factor.
With Andrew Huberman, and he was at the Power Project with Mark Bell and Encima. And then from that point, I also listened to him with Tom Bellew with Impact Theory. Great podcast for you guys to check out. Just going to fix the lighting exposure. And anyways, long story short, highly suggest you guys listen to that. He's a doctor, and he explains how dopamine is the currency of the brain. It's the one feel-good hormone that your brain releases when you are in the process of chasing a goal, whatever that is. And nowadays it's really tough because we can get a dopamine release by simply scrolling through our feed on Instagram.
Eating a donut,
watching TV, or, oh man, I feel like running. The tough thing is we can open Instagram and follow a bunch of runners. And just to see their accomplishments is enough to release dopamine on ourselves. So we're just, oh, that's good. I feel all right. And then you let that feeling of getting outside and getting on a run pass, and you're still on the couch. So going back to what Hannah was saying, it's starting small. It's like, Paulo, what would you say to someone that wants to run a 5K? My first question would be, what are you doing right now? I'm not doing absolutely anything. Well, then why don't you start with a walk around the block once a day? That's it. Don't set yourself to, dude, I got to start running a mile a day. No. Just to walk around the block. Dude, I hate the way that I'm eating. I know that I eat like crap. This is my current state. I only eat shit that comes from a package or from a can. What do? Dude, then pick just one meal a day and try to eat something that's wholesome. So I'm just trying to highlight the idea of start small and start by accomplishing, because it's almost like a muscle. It's a muscle that you flex. The more that you
it's progressive overload
and accomplish, you feel that, and you're like, shit, that felt good, like Hannah said. So start small. Start feeling that. It's gonna come to a point where you're gonna look back and say, fuck, if I do that, I'm not gonna feel what I would like to feel, and in fact, I'm gonna feel like crap. And then you're gonna start kind of regulating yourself and putting these barriers for yourself, and next thing you know, things are you are gonna be closer to where you want to be. And that's how I guess we started, right?
Mm-hmm. And you can relate this to the stuff that you guys know about, FYR apparel, right? When it began, which was a long time ago. It took a long time to get to where it is today, which I'm super proud of it for being. But I remember back then having the same thoughts of I had ideas in my brain that wanted to do things that I'm doing currently after 5 years in, or 4 years in, right? So, but I remember back then being like, wait, you're not there yet. You need to take it slow, right? And then as you go, you'll get there. But if you, and I'm going to use this as an example, right? Because I had, maybe I shouldn't even use that one as an example. That doesn't really relate to a lot of people. But if you're trying to set, I'll use the retreat, Dare to Be retreat, okay? I'm like, I want to have a retreat internationally, and this is where the thought came from, right? Which seems fucking bonkers. And I remember everyone being like, are you sure you can pull this off? And I was even questioning myself, like, you've really bit off a big bone here. But stayed true to the course. I'm like, I want to have an international retreat where people from around the world that are from the Hef tribe actually have an opportunity to come together and have real human connection and FaceTime. Because we've all met virtually. Some people know each other and they've known each other for 4 years, but they've never actually been able to hug, squeeze, work out together. But yet, like, I just needed that, right? So the idea of that was so far-fetched. But then it's like, no, okay, well, that's the goal. Now let's zoom back all the way to the beginning. Well, how long do you think that kind of thing is going to take to plan? We can't rush it. Let's look at the schedule of what we're going on. Let's look at a date. Let's find a date that works. We find the date. Then where do you want to go? What's the weather like? Is it going to work? Da-da-da-da-da. Then you start matching up with that. And it's like very fun at the beginning because it stays on this like fluffy high level. And then when it's like, okay, we've got the date, we've got the location, we know how many people we want to bring, we know what kind of things in this dream experience that I want to have throughout the day. Okay, then I've got I want to have a workout outside. I want there to be a nutritional component. I want there to be a recovery component. I want there to be a daring component. I want us to be able to break bread and like get down and not have such a formal structure. Like, these are all the initial high level ideas, so they're going into little boxes or slides on a presentation. And then it goes down to, okay, well, how much is this kind of thing going to cost? Let's go find hotels. What kind of hotel do we want? Is it luxury? All right, let's find the luxury hotels here. So you just start high and it keeps going down, 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 down. There's so many layers, but this analogy can apply to anything. Right now I have a goal that I want to do. If I say this out loud, it's going to get really loud, right?
Oh shit, by the way, guys, big crane downstairs, so bear with us.
Should I cut it?
Huh?
Should I cut it?
No, that's what it is.
All right, sorry, there's a crane behind her. If I say this goal out loud, then it has to be real.
It's up to you, baby.
I'm going to say it. I'm not going to say a date. I'm just going to say it.
Good.
I'm going to do it.
I love how you turned to me. I'm not going to do it. I'm like, okay. But how about this? I'm like, it's okay.
I would like to do, well, Mark Bell suggested a new challenge. He was, again, to this point of needing to do something. I want to do something. I want to have something to work towards. When I had Iceland to train towards, it gave me such personal purpose, and I felt so good about it, and it made me feel better in a lot of other places in my life too, and I want that feeling back. I keep doing a lot for work. I keep doing a lot for others, I guess, which is exactly still what I want to do, but I'm burning out on a personal level. So it's like, what am I going to do for me that is not for really anyone else, right? If it can give back and help inspire or teach people a lesson too, then that's amazing. But Mark Bell was like, man, and I can't damage my body because we want to have a baby. So I'm like, all right, well, I want to do like a bodybuilding competition. Well, no, Mark Bell said, why don't you do a bodybuilding competition? I'm like, absolutely, I want to do it. That's so far-fetched. I have no idea. I sent a group message this morning with DLB and Mark saying, I'm a newborn in this world. I have no idea to begin. What do? Do I need to get myself a coach? Where can I find the competitions to try and find a date? I guess that's what I do. But it's like anything this can apply to. So if it's you going, I don't know where to begin, well, Rebirth is it. It's already a roadmap that has been set out for you. We've broken it down. We're giving all different levels in case you feel like, oh, what if it's too hard for me? Well, there's going to be 3 different levels on the screen at once. If it's too hard for you, you've got it right there. What if I can't stay accountable? Well, we're trying to give it so much contact with you guys that we have weekly check-ins, that we send push notifications every day, so you have a pop-up on your phone to keep you engaged, so it's not all entirely on you to show up and perform and do it every single day. Yeah. We're trying to support you and build this. Look how cold it is. Build this blueprint for you to be able to feel this feeling that we're talking about. And then when it's done, it's not over. And that's the biggest mistake that people do, is once they close the gap, they think that it's over. And that's what we're going to talk about on the next podcast. But it's like, no. You can't stay there. You've got to let this release of dopamine, oxytocin, whatever it is in your brain that's being released, empower you to make the next step. Once you've felt and acknowledged the current success.
Yeah, I agree, because it's about, once you understand, and this again, just to, I'm not sure if you want to wrap up, but just to wrap up the idea of conversation that we introduced today's podcast with my brother. And I told him, like, you need to understand that once you set that goal and you get there, it's like And it's funny because I can bring it back to this road trip that Hannah and I have been on. We decide to go on a hike. And then we get to the top of the hike. And when you get to the top of the hike, you get there and you look around and you see how beautiful it is. Sometimes we sit down and we drink a little cocoa and we take some pictures and we eat something. And then it's time to come back down. And you're coming back down, and sometimes I can't help but thinking, holy shit, it took us 5 hours to get up here. And we spent 30 minutes up there, and we're on our way back. But that's what life is. It's understanding that's the idea, and always constant motion of going up, getting to the top, reaching that pinnacle or the summit, spending maybe 30 minutes up there, and understanding that what life is about coming back down and understanding that tomorrow's going to be another mountain and another summit, and you're going to go up and you're going to go down and up and down, and that's the journey. Because the second that you feel like you arrived and that's where you should be, it's when you start dying a little every single day.
Has anyone ever worked out with me on iFit? Because it's exactly what I say one of my lessons were. It's like the hills. The hills are just like life. It fucking sucked getting up those hills, but going downhill is effortless.
Yeah.
On a bike anyway. Like, you know, it's like when it goes up, it's going to go down. So enjoy the down, but it's always going to go up, or vice versa, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
It is. And like, I also learn a lot of lessons in nature. I think nature has so many lessons to be told.
Yeah.
Your mountain, your hills, but so does fitness, man. Like, it happens.
Yeah.
Like, and that's something I will say, and I did for
Fitness in life, right?
Yeah. I did for a very long time, and I think you did too. And now it's like I'm feeling rich in other ways and feeling strength in other ways than just what my performances inside of the gym. Was like I constantly felt like I was only going up, and like I had to maintain this level of whatever in order to feel good about myself, or this level of aesthetic appearance or load that I could lift within the gym. And I think that is also age as well, and having a quote unquote ego death of like I don't really give a fuck what I can lift anymore as long as I'm moving pain-free. I feel fit and not like sloppy and lazy and gross, you know, but I feel fulfilled in so many other ways, and I really hope that we can instill that or teach or kind of share that lesson.
Yeah, and we hope that this blueprint that we're putting out for you guys can help you understand one, where you are, one, and second, where you want to be, and maybe we can help you close the gap. I hope we can.
I hope so too. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.